The first invitation arrived in March. A cream envelope with gold lettering announcing the Children's Cancer Foundation annual gala. Inside, a card addressed to the Morrison family, with my parents' names printed in elegant script. I was living in San Francisco then, 3,000 miles from my family's Connecticut estate. I called Mom to ask about bringing a guest. "Oh, sweetie." Her voice had that careful tone. "Actually, we need to talk about that. This year's gala is particularly exclusive. Table prices went up to $50,000 and the guest list is very curated. POs, major philanthropists, old money families. Your father's firm bought a table and we're sitting with the Hendersons and the Vanderbilts. Hey, should I book a hotel nearby?" Pause. "Darling, I don't think you understand. This isn't really your scene. Everyone will be discussing their foundations, their charitable giving, their boards. It might be uncomfortable for you." "Mom, I donate to charity." "Of course you do, and that's wonderful. But these people give millions. They run foundations. They have buildings named after them. You work in..." She trailed off. "Tech," I supplied. "I work in tech." "Yes. Which is great. But you know how these society events are. All anyone talks about is philanthropy and legacy and impact. You'd be bored." What she meant was, "You'd embarrass us." "I understand," I said quietly. "I knew you would. You've always been the practical one. Unlike your sister. Vanessa just committed to co-chairing next year's gala. Isn't that exciting?" Vanessa, my younger sister who'd married into old money and now spent her days on charity boards and planning committees, wielding her husband's fortune like a social weapon. After I hung up, I sat in my Palo Alto office, the corner office with a view of Stanford, and looked at the framed Forbes article on my wall. 30 under 30, tech visionaries changing the world. My face smiled back at me from the glossy page. The article detailed how I'd built MindBridge AI from a Stanford dorm room into a billion-dollar company in 7 years. How our educational technology was revolutionizing learning for underserved communities. How we'd just gone public in the second-largest tech IPO of the year. The article mentioned my net worth. $1.2 billion. My family had never read it. 2 weeks before the gala, Mom texted, "Just to confirm, you're not planning to come, correct? Vanessa is bringing extra guests and we need the space." I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed, "Confirmed. I won't be there." What I didn't tell her was that I'd been in discussions with the Children's Cancer Foundation for 6 months. My foundation, the Morrison Institute for Pediatric Innovation, had been quietly negotiating a partnership. A major one. The kind that got announced at galas. I'd started the institute 2 years ago, right after MindBridge went public. $75 million in initial funding, all from my personal wealth. Our mission: revolutionize pediatric cancer treatment through AI-driven research and provide free care to families who couldn't afford it. We'd built a state-of-the-art research facility in Boston. Recruited the top pediatric oncologists in the world. Developed 3 promising treatment protocols that were showing remarkable results in trials. And we just committed $50 million to the Children's Cancer Foundation, the single largest donation in their 80-year history. My family had no idea. When I told them I'd started a foundation, they'd nodded politely and changed the subject. When I mentioned the research facility, they'd asked if I was still playing with computers. When I tried to explain the treatment protocols, Dad had interrupted to talk about Vanessa's latest charity luncheon. They didn't know because they'd never asked. The gala was on a Saturday in June. I flew to Connecticut Friday evening, checking into a hotel under my chief of staff's name. The foundation chairman, Robert Chin, met me for dinner to review the announcement details. "Your family still doesn't know?" He looked amused. "They uninvited me from the event. Apparently, I'm not elite enough for their donor circle." His eyebrows shot up. "You're donating $50 million. They don't know that part. This should be interesting." He grinned. "The announcement is scheduled for 8 p.m. right after dinner. I'll be presenting the major donor recognition. Your family will be in the room. Front and center. My father's firm bought a premium table." Perfect. Saturday evening I dressed carefully. Navy gown by Oscar de la Renta, simple and elegant. Diamond earrings, a gift I'd bought myself after the IPO. Hair in a sleek chignon. I looked like I belonged at a society gala. I looked like my mother. The venue was the Plaza Hotel, the ballroom glittering with chandeliers and filled with Connecticut's wealthiest families. I entered at 7:30 after cocktail hour had started. Stayed near the edges watching the crowd. I spotted my family immediately. Mom in champagne silk, Dad in his best tuxedo, Vanessa in a dramatic red gown with her husband Preston hovering nearby. They stood with a cluster of other wealthy couples, everyone holding champagne and discussing their philanthropic endeavors. "We just endowed a new wing at the hospital," Preston was saying loudly. $2 million. They're putting our name on it. Vanessa beamed. "It's so important to give back. That's what people at our level do." Our level. I almost laughed. Robert Chin found me near the bar. "Ready? As I'll ever be. Your family hasn't noticed you yet. They're not looking for me. As far as they know, I'm in San Francisco, too unimportant to attend." He shook his head. "Let's change that." Dinner was announced at 7:45. I slipped into a seat at a table near the back. Not my family's premium table, but a spot Robert had reserved for me with other major donors. A tech CEO I'd met at conferences. A hedge fund manager who'd invested in MindBridge early. A philanthropist who ran 3 foundations. They all knew who I was. My family's table was front and center, 15 feet from the stage. Perfect view for what was coming. Dinner was salmon and asparagus. Speeches began at 8 o'clock. The foundation president spoke about their mission, their impact, the children they'd helped. A young cancer survivor, a 10-year-old girl named Emma, told her story. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Then Robert Chin took the stage. "Tonight, I have the honor of announcing something extraordinary. A gift that will transform our foundation's ability to serve children battling cancer. A partnership that represents the largest single donation in our 80-year history." The room went silent. I saw Preston lean forward, probably hoping to hear his name. "This gift comes from someone who understands the power of innovation. Someone who's built a career on using technology to solve impossible problems. Someone who believes that every child deserves access to the best possible care, regardless of their family's ability to pay." My mother's table was wrapped. I saw Vanessa whispering to Preston, probably speculating about which tech billionaire was being honored. The Morrison Institute for Pediatric Innovation has committed $50 million to our foundation over the next 5 years. This transformational gift will fund cutting-edge research, provide free treatment to families in need, and establish 3 new pediatric cancer centers across the country. Gasps rippled through the room. $50 million was real money even in this crowd. The Morrison Institute was founded by a remarkable woman. A Stanford graduate who built a billion-dollar company before she turned 30. A visionary who's using her success to revolutionize pediatric cancer treatment. Please join me in thanking our largest benefactor, Dr. Alexander Morrison. The spotlight swung to my table. I stood, smiling as the room erupted in applause. At my family's table, 4 faces turned toward me in perfect synchronization. Mom's mouth fell open. Dad went pale. Vanessa's expression cycled through shock, confusion, and something that looked like rage. Preston just looked confused. I walked to the stage, embracing Robert before taking the microphone. "Thank you, Robert. And thank you all for the warm welcome." My voice was steady. The Morrison Institute was born from a simple belief: that innovation can save lives. That technology and medicine together can achieve what neither can alone. And that every child fighting cancer deserves every possible advantage. I clicked the remote. The screen behind me filled with images. Our research facility, our medical team, children in treatment, families holding their healthy kids. 2 years ago, I committed $75 million of my personal wealth to start this foundation. We've built a world-class research facility in Boston. We've recruited the top pediatric oncologists in the country. We've developed 3 new treatment protocols that are showing remarkable success in clinical trials. More images. Graphs showing survival rates. Testimonials from families. Research data. But research means nothing if children can't access it. That's why partnering with the Children's Cancer Foundation was essential. Their network, their expertise, their reach, combined with our research and resources, will help us reach every child who needs us. I paused, looking directly at my family's table. I grew up in Connecticut. I know this community. I know the importance you place on legacy and impact and giving back. I hope this gift honors that tradition. The applause was thunderous. A standing ovation that lasted a full minute. When I returned to my seat, I was immediately surrounded. Foundation board members wanting to meet me. Other philanthropists wanting to discuss partnerships. The tech CEO shaking my hand and congratulating me on the IPO. I watched my family's table from the corner of my eye. They sat frozen, not clapping, just staring. After the speeches ended, the crowd mingled. I was talking with a foundation board member about research protocols when I felt a hand on my arm. Mom stood there, mascara slightly smudged. Alexandra. We didn't know you were here. I know. You told me not to come. I didn't mean. She looked around at the people surrounding me, the board members treating me like visiting royalty. You donated $50 million? I did. The Morrison Institute has committed to it over 5 years. The Morrison Institute. You named it after our family? I named it after me, Mom. It's my foundation. My money. My mission. Dad appeared, Vanessa and Preston in tow. All 4 of them looked shell-shocked. Alexandra, Dad said carefully. We had no idea you were involved in philanthropy at this level. I tried to tell you about the Institute. Multiple times. You changed the subject. But you never mentioned $50 million. You never asked how much I was committing. You heard foundation, and assumed it was small. Cute. Nothing worth discussing. Vanessa found her voice. How do you even have $50 million? You work in tech. I built a company, Vanessa. Mindbridge AI. We went public last year. Second largest tech IPO of 2022. My stake was worth $1.2 billion. The silence that fell was absolute. Billion. Preston whispered. With AB. With AB. But you never. Vanessa looked betrayed. You never told us you were a billionaire. I tried. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I mentioned the company valuation. Dad asked if I'd met anyone nice lately. At Christmas, I brought up the IPO plans. Mom changed the subject to your charity luncheon. At Easter, I tried to explain what we'd built. You said it all sounded very complicated and asked about my love life. Each sentence landed like a blow. Mom's eyes were shining. We didn't mean to dismiss you. Didn't you? You uninvited me from tonight because I wasn't impressive enough. Because I'd embarrass you in front of your society friends. Because my work wasn't real philanthropy like Vanessa's charity boards. That's not fair, Vanessa snapped. I co-chair 3 major fundraisers. Using Preston's money. Which is fine, there's honor in that work. But don't pretend my philanthropy is less valid because I made my own fortune first. A foundation board member approached. Dr. Morrison, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are several people who'd like to discuss potential partnerships. Do you have a moment? Of course. I turned back to my family. Excuse me. I have work to do. I spent the next hour talking with board members, other donors, research scientists who wanted to collaborate. A venture capitalist asked about Mindbridge. A hospital administrator wanted to discuss treatment protocols. A journalist from The Times requested an interview about tech philanthropy. My family watched from their table, no longer the most important people in the room. At 10 p.m. Robert found me. There's someone I want you to meet. The governor just arrived, she's very interested in your work. As I followed him across the ballroom, I passed my family's table one more time. Vanessa grabbed my arm. Alex, wait. Can we talk? Really talk? About what? About everything. We clearly didn't understand what you've accomplished. What you're doing. You didn't want to understand. You wanted me to stay in my place. The quiet daughter who worked in tech, whatever that meant. The one who didn't fit into your society world. We're proud of you, Dad said quietly. We should have said that before. We should have asked about your work. We should have celebrated your success. You should have. But you didn't. I softened slightly. Look, I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Done trying to fit into your vision of who I should be. Done seeking approval for achievements you can't be bothered to understand. What does that mean? Mom whispered. It means I have my own life now. My own foundation, my own mission, my own legacy. You're welcome to be part of it if you want. But you don't get to act interested only after everyone else decided I was worth paying attention to. I pulled my arm from Vanessa's grip and walked away. The governor was waiting. She shook my hand warmly. Dr. Morrison, I've been following your work. I'd love to discuss a state partnership for pediatric cancer treatment. We talked for 30 minutes about policy, funding, and impact. She gave me her private number. Asked me to visit the State House. When I finally left the gala at 11 p.m., my family was still there, standing together near the entrance, watching me with expressions I couldn't quite read. I didn't stop to say goodbye. In the Uber back to my hotel, my phone exploded. Texts from Mom, Dad, Vanessa. All variations of please call, and we need to talk, and we're sorry. I turned the phone off. The next morning I flew back to San Francisco. Monday I had a board meeting at Mindbridge. Tuesday a site visit to the research facility in Boston. Wednesday a presentation to potential investors for our next phase of research. I had a company to run. A foundation to build. Children's lives to save. My family called 17 times that week. I didn't answer. Maybe someday I'd let them back in. Maybe we'd find a way to rebuild on honest ground, where they saw me clearly and valued my work for what it was. But if that never happened, I'd be okay. Because I'd built something that mattered. Not for their approval. Not for their society friends. For the children fighting for their lives. For the families desperate for hope. For the future I was helping to create. And that legacy, my legacy, didn't need my family's name on it to matter. It just needed my own.